Welcome to the Wisory Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Wadler, founder of the Wisory, and this is our weekly Wise in 5, where we ask Fortune 1000 business leaders and esteemed professors 5 questions to provide insights to help grow your business and career. I am honored to host this week's guest, Jackie Yeaney, for this week's Wise in 5. Jackie has been a transformational chief marketing officer at some of the largest technology companies, including Tableau, Ellucian, and Red Hat, and sits on a number of private and public boards. I know you'll enjoy the wisdom around how businesses and leaders need to evolve along the rapidly changing technology environment to drive your business to the next level. Hi, Jackie. How are you?
Hi, Jason. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for being part of the Wisory Wise in 5 this week.
Thank you for asking me.
Of course. Before we dive into the 5 questions, I'd love for you to share your amazing background. You've had an incredible journey and are still on an incredible journey. But if you would mind just giving the viewers and listeners a little bit about you, and then we'll dive into the questions.
Yeah, absolutely. I do call myself an accidental marketer because I kind of just fell in it and then fell in love with it, if you will. So I was a pretty big geek way back when. So I have an electrical engineering degree from a place called RPI in Troy, New York. It's a very sad, cold place. I did Air Force ROTC while I was there, mainly to pay for college. My dad was in the military. My husband and I we decided to get married right as we graduated, because it was either try to get stationed together and get married or call it quits and say goodbye. So we got married. I had an amazing job in the Air Force. I'm fairly old now, so that was Desert Storm times, but I learned a lot about leadership during that time. Never intended to stay in. I went to business school. I thought business school sounded ridiculous. I was going to do a PhD at MIT. My colonel convinced me that I wasn't going to be in a lab and I wasn't going to be an academic. So maybe I should look at MIT's business school. So wise advice, Wisory, how do you get that?
Thank you. I think I get $1 for that.
Yeah, exactly. Ended up being the perfect place for me. When I graduated there, I went to the Boston Consulting Group. Weren't many moms there. Now I had 2 kids as this was happening. I had a 3-year-old and a 3-month-old, and my husband was still in the Air Force. It did get me away from some of the I'm not that smart, but you can't outwork me. That was my life philosophy. I'm like, I can't outwork these people, but ended up actually really liking it, which you're not supposed to say at those firms, I suppose. But I loved going into different businesses and helping them. I was in Boston and then was in Switzerland for a bit, and then they moved me to Atlanta. So I was consulting to Delta Airlines when 9/11 happened, and the CFO asked me and 2 other people to leave BCG and come help directly. Felt like the right thing to do, even though they were about to make me partner. So you can call me crazy or not, I don't know. But I'd really fallen in love with the airline. And I said yes, and then the CFO asked me to run consumer marketing. And I did not know anything about marketing. Yeah, I thought it was all fluff. Thought they'd lost their minds. But I get in there, Jason, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with obsessing about the traveler, because everybody at Delta at the time was just doing their own little thing, and nobody was looking at it all the way across. I was like, why am I spending all this advertising money when the experience sucks? So took all that money and put it into experience, and saw the power of brand, like attaching people to a revitalized soul of Delta Airlines. And I do believe they've kind of kept that ever since. And so I've been doing it ever since. So I found my way, as you know, so I did mortgages, I did Earthlink, back to tech, because I'm still a techie at heart. So doing marketing for tech companies, that kind of became my thing. In my later years, I stopped relatively early, long story, but because my husband's going blind, it was just, what are we doing with our lives? So I stopped doing my operating role a couple of years ago. And now I'm on 2 public boards, a nonprofit board, support the foundation fighting blindness, and I coach about 15 CMOs. And I have a couple that aren't marketers at all.
Wow. What an incredible journey. And when I listen to you tell your path, it just strikes me, not only are you this incredible business person, but just this incredible person.
Thank you for saying that.
That's so cool. I mean, it's so evident in terms of the path that you've chosen and continue to choose. So thank you for sharing that. So my first question, and it's probably going to be an easy one given what you just shared, is where do you find inspiration? I mean, you have
Yeah.
all these amazing things that you're part of and have been part of. Where do you find inspiration just in daily life?
Genuinely, my day-to-day inspiration is my husband and his patience and grace and resiliency he's shown during this journey of losing his eyesight. He's found purpose and he's done it all in a way. So one of our children also has the inherited retinal disease that he has, and it's 100%. He's showing our son that you can still have an amazing life when something like this happens to you. I've never been a very patient person. So I'm more patient than I used to be with this journey. I could only be as patient and calm and as he is. And he started a fitness business called Blind Ambition Fitness. So he's a personal trainer now.
Wow.
So it started out virtually during COVID, but now he has people that come to the house. And I hear the way he interacts with these people. I mean, he's just supporting them. Sometimes I'm like, are people working out or are you just chit chatting?
I would guess it's similar. I mean, you both are coaching and mentoring, right? That's
Yeah.
the path
Yeah.
that you've chosen. It truly is inspiring. So
No,
thank you for
thank you. I
sharing
do
that.
get to charge more than they do, so that's
Well,
um,
I'm going to go to the business side now.
yes,
So,
please.
as you mentioned, you've been the CMO for a number of large technology companies, Tableau, Ellucian, Red Hat. How did your role change, both as businesses grew
Mhm.
and new technologies emerging within these technology companies? But how did the role change?
Yeah. I have this dichotomy that goes in my mind where it's like a lot of it's the same, but yet a lot of it's also different. So I feel like no matter where I was CMO, like I always obsessed about putting the customer first. I always obsessed about making sure the corporate strategy was clear and articulated for everyone. I always made sure that marketing was not just driving quarterly numbers, but was also obsessing about the long-term health of the company. So the reason I say I always felt the same is those were such foundational, it made a lot of the job always feel the same to me.
And kind of
Kinda
easy, right? Because
some
you
of
had
it,
that
yeah, because I
framework.
had that. I had it, yeah, and it wasn't gonna change and never changed the entire time
I should say
I was doing
easy,
it.
maybe what you say yes to and what you say no to.
Yes, exactly, exactly. That said, yes, they all have their different kind of strategic challenges going on. They're at different scale notions. And it was always what you know this better than anybody, but what people consider marketing always is different. So the functions that would be in my purview changed uh, based on the company and how they thought about it, and also where we were in our growth cycle. So, like sometimes product marketing would be included, and sometimes it wasn't. When it wasn't, I still acted like it was. If you're in a tech company and product marketing is not kind of with you, then you're not gonna get very far. SDRs and BDRs, sometimes I would have responsibility for. I
Mhm.
loved it when I did, but I didn't feel like I had to. Internal communications, corporate communications. So that kind of always would change. And then I found that as you scale, functions like field and partner marketing
Mm.
become much more strategic and important. When you're smaller, for example, field marketing can be more sales support. I also found that as we scaled, this is when like customer and lifecycle marketing becomes its own thing. Again, when you're smaller or mid, it can all be together. But then, yeah, the journey of the customer and the retention becomes very, very important. And then, of course, the complexity of scaling when your market segments expand, the product lines expand. And then the last part of your question on technology, AI is moving faster than any of the
Right.
things that I personally experience. Now I hear my clients and I'm on some boards, but I'm not CMO as it's happening. I acted like marketing operations was always my heartbeat of making a marketing org function and making sure that it was agile, not
Mhm.
depending on one, two, or three tools because they're probably not going to be what's going to get you anywhere in a year. Setting up processes where things could kind of pull in and out. But like one tool seems like the most amazing thing.
Right.
And then, yeah, a year down the road, they haven't evolved fast enough. And now there's something else. And you have to be able to kind of pull those in and out.
Yep.
But it didn't used to be, right? It used to be, oh, here's the MarTech stack and here's how it's used.
Right.
No, can't be that way anymore.
No, I mean, it's all getting disrupted right now, and we'll talk a little bit more
Yeah,
about
yeah,
AI later. But why don't we go to the next? I have a ton of questions to follow up, but let's go to the next
yeah.
question because You also referenced that you're doing a lot of executive coaching
Mhm.
now, and I'm sure you're just unbelievable. So, when you're working with these leaders, are there certain challenges or questions that you find you're most helping them work through?
I would say for sure the number one, and because humans are humans, turns out no matter what level we are, what function we do, but the dynamics with the CEO, I'd say is number one. And then dynamics with peers, with their CFO, with the CRO, the CPO, and not just connections with those people, but how am I getting my strategic seat at the table? What am I standing up for and what should I just let go? I'm the only one that's dealt with this kind of CEO before. No, I'm sorry, you're not. So I mean, almost every story I hear and they think it's unique. I'm like, no.
Well, is that comforting then that they know that they're
Yes, I
not
think
alone?
so. Yes. Yes. I feel like a lot of that is a safe place to have that conversation. Who are you going to have that conversation with? The only place might be your significant other, but they don't
Mhm.
want to do it and they don't have the context. But
Right.
it really, when you're an executive at almost any size company, yeah, you don't have a safe place to be like, how do I handle this situation? The second one, which I guess I'm a little surprised about, but I've been helping a lot with board presentations and with board dynamics. And now I've had several years experience on the other side as
Mhm.
well, being a board member. So I feel like I can help them pretty efficiently with some of
Is
that.
that same role that would you'd be working with on what you had mentioned before? Would that be someone different? I guess my question is, if it's is it the more of a CEO that's looking for help with the board, or is it more
It's usually, well, just because with my clients, it's the CMOs.
CMO?
And what and how do they share with the board? What kind of relationships are appropriate or not?
Mhm.
That kind
And
of
if you're new to it, that's really hard to
It's really
understand.
hard to understand. And I can also I can insert things like the things that make me crazy as a board member is when an executive team shows up and each executive's doing their own presentation and it's not one story at all.
Right.
I'm like, please don't do that.
Right.
Connect with your CFO, connect with your CEO, connect with the CRO. Do not walk in as an individual to the board.
Yep, absolutely.
No matter if it's a public company, PE owned company, it doesn't matter. And then I think the third most common is org structures, team dynamics, talent, helping them with how to performance manage someone or they've got someone they really believe in, how to better lift them up, what opportunities to give them.
So you work with leaders, you are a leader, you've been a leader at these organizations. What leadership qualities do you view as the most important to help businesses adjust and scale as they grow? And most of the folks we work with are more mid-sized businesses. What kind of leadership qualities do you think are needed?
So, in a sense, I have two answers only because I did spend quite a bit of part of the reason I kept doing what I was doing was I wanted people to see a leader that was succeeding without playing the games, without compromising their values. Because if they don't see that happen, then they just think they have to behave this other way, which I would have thought in my 30-year career would have been diminishing, and it doesn't appear to be. So that's part of it for me is not just making this a big political game of your career and not ever compromising on what really matters to you. And then my second answer is more like just the qualities that you're probably thinking I might say of being, intensely curious, being agile, resilience. It's a rough world out there right now. Resilience in the sense of being able to deal with constant change and
Hmm.
competing priorities. And I can't remember where I heard it, so this is not something I came up with, but it really resonated this notion of projecting calm while still projecting urgency,
Mm, I love that.
right? Because like there's still lots that needs to be done.
Right.
And if you're spinning, then the whole organization around
Right.
you is going to be spinning. But yet you still want people, you need to be moving pretty quickly.
Right. You can't be too complacent because then
Yes.
people will follow your lead on that.
Yeah, so
That's
that
really
that
smart.
has really stuck with me because I don't believe that the chaos is not going to get better. I was just trying to convince a client the other day because she was like obsessing about trying to make it calmer, and more routine. I'm like, no, no. I think we have to figure out the mechanisms of dealing with the chaos better, not of getting rid of it because I could tell in her company's
Mhm.
context it wasn't going to stop.
Yep.
So stop Stop beating yourself up over
Right.
things you can't
There's a
control.
concept, I actually teach it when I do my class at Indiana, which is you move from this idea of perseverance to resiliency to anti-fragility. I don't know
Mhm.
if you've heard about
That last one I had not heard yet.
resilience is kind of working your way through it.
Mhm.
Anti-fragility, pardon my French, is you take this change and you make it your bitch and you just go
Own
after
it.
it.
You own it.
You own it and you
Interesting. I
really
like that a
go
lot.
after it. And so all of a sudden you take your power back,
Yeah.
right? And maybe that gets
No, you're
into
right. Resilience is like ability to handle rather than owning it and making it your own. I love that. Okay, can I steal that?
absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
we share, right? We're not
Yeah,
stealing. This is just
absolutely.
we're sharing with each other.
And I'd be remiss if I don't say, because I always heard is obsessing about your team,
Mhm.
the talent on your team. I never had all the answers, but that's getting impossible now. It's all happening too fast. So you need to hire people smarter than you with expertise you don't have. Has nothing to do with the current AI, but for me, because I was that engineer first, I was not the creative. So I always tried to surround myself with amazing creatives. And then over time, I feel like I became really gifted at knowing a great idea when I saw it. But I wasn't going to turn myself into one of those creative director types.
Right. And that's virtually impossible
I
as an
just can't.
engineer.
Yeah, I'm like, and I remember at BCG, actually, way before I was a marketer, I even got some feedback then because I always believed the data was going to take me to the answer. And they would be like, I wasn't out of the box enough. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Think inside the box.
Yeah, yeah. So once I was a marketer, I'm like, oh, that's what they meant.
I gotta take a cup of wisdom.
Yes, please. I've got my iced latte and my soda water. Those are my two things.
It's too late by me to drink the iced latte, so I just have
Oh, it's true.
plain
I'm
old fashioned water. But
three
yeah,
hours behind you.
question 4. Actually, this is question 5. So this is our last question, Jackie,
Okay.
believe it or not.
That was
So
fast.
you have this amazing network of people, right? You had them throughout your career. You also built the CMO collaborative where you got a lot of the leading CMOs were a part of that.
Hmm.
You mentioned AI. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Not A1 or whatever.
How do you see it affecting marketing and the go-to-market approaches, especially when we're focused on mid-size businesses? I think it's actually better to be small right now
Yes.
with AI. I think some of the bigger guys working through the layers that they have to work with and some of the things that have already been codified are going to have a harder time shifting as
Undoing.
fast.
Yes.
Exactly.
Because being big isn't going to give you an advantage, certainly, and you can scale much more efficiently your team and your impact in marketing with AI now. So I completely agree with that. Yeah, some of my clients that are at the bigger companies, they're trying to do a blank slate, and look at it and then try to figure out how they're going to shift. But yeah, it's hard.
Mhm.
Instead, they have to set up tiger teams and pilots, and they have to go beg legal.
Right.
There's a lot of begging legal going on. I've heard that a lot. I don't know if you feel this way, but, and granted, I talk to marketers more than others, but I feel like marketing is ahead inside organizations as far as using AI for efficiency and scaling.
Definitely for efficiency.
Yeah, definitely for efficiency.
I think there's a growth challenge
I agree with
right now.
that. Yeah, so I think they're a little stuck on that still. I have not seen the out of the box completely change how we go to market. I have not seen that happen. I have more from on my board side. I do find there's the AI efficiency activity, and then there is the how are we fundamentally going to change the business and the market, not stemming from marketing, probably stemming from product.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, which
That's
is good.
something, and we referenced Dave Edelman before we jumped
Yeah,
on this
yeah.
podcast, and he's very much into personalization, and similar to you, works with a lot of C-level people and around AI. He said a lot of what he's seeing now is it definitely is around efficiency, but he gave some examples of growth where it was pulling in all these disparate pieces of data, and it was with smaller companies
Yeah.
where they were
Yes, I
able
know
to
those. I
do
know
that.
the stories you're referencing, and yeah, I think those are. Yeah, they're happening, but not everywhere yet.
Right.
And I do personalization with marketing, as you know, has always been the dream.
Segment of one, right?
Yes, but we never had the tools or the money or the people to do it, and now we have the tool.
Right. And what you had said before, one of the challenges with segmented one was always about efficiency, right?
Mhm.
Because you couldn't get scale in terms of how things were being developed, both the tools, the capital that was there, and the people,
Yeah.
right?
Which is
And
how
now,
ABM kinda got going because 'cause they're like, "Well, at least if we
exactly.
can think of some accounts." Yeah.
That's exactly right. Great. Well, we did our 5 questions. So thank you
Awesome.
for that.
No,
You
thank you.
passed.
Okay,
If there
okay,
was
good.
ever going to be a question, you passed. But I have a bonus question,
Okay.
and it relates to the Wisery. So, as folks want to engage with you
Mm.
on the Wisery, and I know they're going to, especially after this, what questions or challenges would you feel you're best suited to help them take on?
No, you're actually kind to ask that. I feel like some of that's come out as we've been chatting, in
Hmm.
my head anyway. How you engage with your CEO and your peers, how you engage with your board. I'd say strategic positioning or repositioning, especially of a mid-sized company. I don't know. I feel like it's more of a natural gift, or maybe I got it at BCG, but I seem to be able to understand market context really quickly. So I don't exactly know how I do it.
Probably just pattern recognition
I
from all the
guess,
things you've
yeah,
worked on.
yeah. So I can tell by how I interact with some people of what seems obvious to me, and in the boardroom, this happens to me sometimes too, is not obvious to others yet. We didn't talk about this one yet, but it comes up a lot, and it came up a lot in my jobs. Just rebranding. Should we? Shouldn't we?
Mhm.
Is it worth it? What would we do it for? If you believe yes, how do you convince the people around you? What kind of brand architecture are you using to best position yourself going forward? So those sorts of things I'm really good at. On the marketing strategy front, it's like, do I have it right? Does this make sense? Should I be altering it? I can do that pretty
Mhm.
quickly.
So it's kind of like one side of executive leadership and how you fit in the organization and what the organization should be doing and structuring. The other side is using your marketing chops, right? From a
Yeah,
marketing
if
strategy
you're a
and branding
marketing leader,
standpoint.
yeah, exactly.
Well, that's
And then
wonderful.
maybe the one I would say that's more broad that I seem to be able to do, like if you're just stuck on something, whatever it is, and it doesn't because I do this with people, all walks of life, all ages, all industries, friends of friends of friends. I can probably help you talk through that.
Mm.
And if we can't solve it in a half hour, I bet I can tell people what to do next. And I've also, maybe everyone else that knows me knows, but I always have an opinion.
If you're a marketer who doesn't have an opinion, you're not a marketer.
That's true. That's a good point.
Well, Jackie, this has been absolutely wonderful. I am so honored and
No, thank
thrilled
you,
that you're
Jason.
part of the Wisery. I
Yeah, I'm
can't
thrilled to be a
wait.
part of it. Yeah.
Thank you. I can't wait for people to engage with you. So thank you for making the time and being one of our amazing advisors. And we'll talk soon.
All right. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for tuning into this week's Wise in 5. Visit thewisery.com to learn more about Jackie and book time with her or any one of our acclaimed advisors only at the Wisery.